2020 came with a big surprise for those in the credit card points and miles community. One of the most popular premium travel cards made some significant changes, prompting some extremely strong reactions across the internet. Hey, how's it going everyone? It's Ernest from TripAstute. In this video, we're going to dive into the changes on the Chase Sapphire Reserve card and how you can determine whether it's still the right card for you. I'll also share how you can do the same calculations using a free tool that we've created. As many of you know, the Chase Sapphire Reserve is one of my favorite credit cards. I got this card in 2016 when it was first launched, and it's offered a lot of value to me over the past 2 years. In fact, I even voted for it as my pick when we did the collaboration last year on what would be our one card. That was one of my favorite videos of 2019, so if you missed it, make sure you check it out. The Sapphire Reserve has been the core of my Chase Ultimate Rewards setup, and I imagine to many of you as well, so these changes are significant. I know that there are a lot of people online already saying that the world is ending now that these changes are coming. However, this is the nature of the points and miles hobby. Things change all the time, and it means that we always have to adapt and reevaluate whether we're getting value from our cards and programs. It's easy to have an emotional reaction to this change, but I think it's worth taking a step back and objectively evaluating the impact. In this video, I want to cover a few things. One is a quick recap of the changes. I know that most of the creators in this space are covering this topic, so I don't want to spend too much time discussing the details of each change. Instead, I want to share my thoughts on the changes and specifically how I calculate the estimated value of the Sapphire Reserve. But first, if you're new here, welcome to our channel. TripAstute is a travel channel that is focused on sharing ways to make travel easier, affordable, and more enjoyable. Traveling can be stressful and expensive, so we're looking for ways to help you maximize your experience through travel tips, points and miles, and innovative gear. If that sounds interesting to you, please consider subscribing. So let's quickly review the changes with the Chase Sapphire Reserve. The big one is obviously the increase in annual fee from $450 to $550. This puts it on par with the American Express Platinum, which also has a $550 annual fee. This isn't too surprising to me since Chase has reported a loss with the card, and it seems like they've been really trying to steer customers toward the Sapphire Preferred for a while now with the higher welcome offer. The card was surprisingly popular when it was first released. I remember Chase even running out of metal cards since they were flooded with applications. The other set of changes are in the form of credits and benefits. This is where a lot of people seem to have gripes. It's understandable as they seem to be targeted toward a very focused customer segment, specifically those that live in larger metropolitan cities and that utilize ride sharing and food delivery services. The first new benefit is a $60 DoorDash credit per year for the next 2 years. This credit is not capped or allocated per month like the dining credits from American Express. Much like the $300 travel credit, you'll get statement credits as you use it. The second new included benefit is the Dash Pass membership. This is worth about $10 per month and basically waives your ordering and delivery fees when using DoorDash. The third new benefit is the Link Pink membership. This is worth about $20 per month and gives you several perks, including 15% off all Lyft rides, 3 free cancellations per month, 3 free bike or scooter rentals per month, priority airport pickups, waived lost and found fees, and access to special offers. Lastly, you'll now earn 10x points on Lyft rides, which is a significant improvement from the 3x that you used to earn as part of the travel bonus category. Okay, so what do I think about these changes? To be honest, I was initially disappointed by the annual fee increase. I wasn't convinced that I would get value from the new benefits either, so I was skeptical of the changes. However, after evaluating my numbers, I think my initial emotional reaction may have been off. Obviously, everyone's situation and lifestyle is unique. However, it got me thinking that others are probably wondering whether the Sapphire Reserve is still worth keeping. I thought it might be useful to review how I'm evaluating the value proposition. If anything, I hope it gives you a structured approach to determining how you might be either gaining or losing with the changes. Before I share how to evaluate whether the card still works for you, I want to review some quick terminology and assumptions. First off, I'm breaking out the benefits into 2 categories. One is fixed benefits. This includes the $300 annual travel credit and the new $60 DoorDash credit. For the sake of simplicity, these are use it or lose it type of benefits. The other benefits are what I'm classifying as variable benefits. This includes the Priority Pass, Lyft Pink, and Dash Pass memberships. These are services that are included as part of your annual fee, but the value that you gain from them is dependent on how much you use it. Lastly, this method doesn't account for other cards that might be in your wallet that have similar benefits or bonus categories. For example, you might have another card or a card setup that rewards you for dining out, like the American Express Gold. This process also doesn't account for other discounts or promotions that you might have access to, which would affect the value of these new Sapphire Reserve benefits. However, when I compare my scorecard at the end of the video, I'll compare it to what I would have earned if I had the Sapphire Preferred instead. Okay, so let's jump into the 7 steps to evaluate whether you're still getting value from the Sapphire Reserve. Number 1, examining your fixed credit benefits. Since these are use or lose, it's important to evaluate whether you'll take advantage of them. The $300 annual travel credit has traditionally been an easy credit to redeem. This is especially true since Chase has a very broad definition of what constitutes a travel expense. Even expenses like parking are considered to be travel. For most people, this is a guaranteed $300 back. This is why you'll often see me refer to the Sapphire Reserve's adjusted annual fee of $150 under the old annual fee and now $250 under the new annual fee. The other fixed benefit is a bit more tricky. It depends on your usage. We tend to order food at least twice a month, usually on a Friday night after Fiona and I have had a long work week. Our normal routine is to order directly from our favorite Thai restaurant down the street. I usually use Chow Now since it's linked to the restaurant website. However, when I checked on DoorDash, it looks like they have the same exact menu and prices. So for us, this works great. If you never order out or live in a place where DoorDash doesn't serve your market, then your mileage may vary. Though if you travel for work and even find yourself ordering room service, you might consider using a service like DoorDash instead. I know that the prices of these delivery services can sometimes vary, so you'll want to make sure that you're not overpaying for the food too. But getting back to fixed credits, I'm confident that I'll be able to take advantage of them. Number 2, consider your Lyft usage. I didn't think that I used ride sharing that often. However, when I pulled my data from YNAB, I found that I spent about $500 last year on Uber and Lyft rides. When I factored that most were for rides while traveling abroad, where Uber is the only option since Lyft is unavailable, it was closer to $300 for rides in the US. Most were for airport rides, which average around $40 to $50 from my apartment to LAX. So for me, I estimate that the Lyft Pink membership is probably worth around $45 per year for me. Again, the more you spend on Lyft, the more you'll save. I'm also not accounting for the fact that you'll earn points toward Delta and Hilton as well through Lyft, which may also be part of your value calculation. The other thing to consider is that you'll now earn 10x points on Lyft rides. So for me, that's 2,100 points, which is worth at least $31.50, assuming a minimum redemption rate of 1.5 cents on the Chase travel portal. In case you're wondering, I'm multiplying by 7 instead of 10, since I want to avoid double counting the spend when I look at my total travel and dining expenses later in step 5. Also, it's worth noting that the Sapphire Preferred now earns 5x points on Lyft rides, which means that it's been adjusted to 3x in my calculations to avoid double counting as well. So just on my ride sharing usage, I value the Lyft benefits to be around $77 per year for me. I know that Lyft Pink membership also includes other perks, but I haven't had a chance to try it and determine whether I find them to be valuable. Number 3, consider your DashPass savings. DashPass can save you delivery and order fees. The service claims that it's about $4 to $5 per order. However, using my Thai restaurant example, it's closer to $2 for me. Even then, if we order twice a month, then we're saving about $48 per year. You can see from the chart that if you order even more, then the savings can be significant, even when I'm using a conservative $2 delivery fee estimate. Though if you're someone who doesn't get charged a delivery fee or prefers to pick up your order, that might influence your savings as well. Also, it's always important to check the price when using DoorDash versus ordering directly from the restaurant or using another delivery service. In my case, it's the same, but I know it can vary. Number 4, determine your priority pass usage. This is another major benefit of the Sapphire Reserve that's tough to quantify. I know some people have complained that Priority Pass lounges are crowded and therefore less valuable than other lounge programs like the American Express Centurion lounges, accessible with the American Express Platinum. However, from personal experience, I can say that we've managed to get a lot of value from our Priority Pass lounge membership. Based on our usage, I'm estimating that the lounge access is worth $60 for us. I came up with this estimate since we made 4 visits to the lounge this year. 2 visits were on my own and 2 were with Fiona as my guest. For the lounge visits, I estimated that each visit was worth $10 per person in food and drinks, which means that we saved about $60 with the lounge visits. We also used the Priority Pass restaurant credit this past year. For the restaurant credits, I've outlined the party size, total credit amount, and the actual amount we used. I then discounted it by 20% since gratuity is separate and not covered by the restaurant credit. Now the complication comes with determining whether we would have actually purchased anything at the airport or not if we didn't have access to this benefit. Perhaps we would have had a meal at home before heading to the airport, or maybe even waited for the airline meal service. That makes us hard to estimate. So to be fair, I decided to account for only 50% of the value, which is how I came up with $80 as my estimated value for the Priority Pass membership. I might be too conservative with my calculations, but $80 for basic food and drinks for the year seems about right to me. Number 5, estimate your travel and dining expenses. This is another variable expense that is purely based on how much you spend in a year. Previously, the break-even point for strictly travel and dining bonus purchases was $3,800 for the Sapphire Preferred and $3,033 for the Sapphire Reserve. This was using the Chase Travel Portal redemption rate, which is generally the minimum rate that you would want to redeem your points. Also, I factored in the annual fee. For the Sapphire Reserve, I'm using the adjusted annual fee of $150 instead of the old annual fee of $450 since I'm factoring in the automatic $300 travel credit. For the new annual fee, the equation dramatically changes for the Sapphire Reserve. You now would have to spend $5,556 to break even with an adjusted annual fee of $250. This is assuming that you don't factor in the value of other benefits, including the $60 DoorDash credit. When I checked my travel and dining costs for 2019 in YNAB, it came out to around $12,000. A lot of that went on my American Express Gold card, but since I've canceled my American Express Gold, dining charges are back on my Sapphire Reserve this year. I also have to adjust for the fact that we went on a honeymoon last year, which accounted for about half of that $12,000. So for the sake of this exercise, I'll estimate a total dining out and travel cost of $6,000 per year. Ignoring the annual fee for now, since we'll tally it at the end of the scorecard, I'm looking at an earned value of $270 for $6,000 of travel and dining out spend based on a 1.5 cent redemption rate. Number 6, determine how much you use other travel benefits. This one is also hard to quantify since you hope to never use these benefits. It's more peace of mind than anything. However, for me personally, I find that I do get savings from one of them, which is the primary rental car insurance. The catch with the primary rental car insurance is that it's not unique to the Chase Sapphire Reserve. The Sapphire Preferred, Inc. Business Preferred, and other Chase cards have this benefit as well as other cards, so it might not be something that you even consider. However, when I check my records, we rented a car for 25 days last year. That's mostly because of our honeymoon road trip, though if I estimate that the savings were $20 per day for declining the extra insurance provided by the rental car companies, the potential savings is $500. Again, I don't think I normally rent a car for that many days a year. In fact, when I looked at 2018, I only booked 7 days of rental cars. So to better estimate the value of a normal year, we're looking at about $140 of savings by opting out of the insurance offered by rental car companies. And finally, number 7, consider your Chase Travel Portal usage. This is another one that's tough to gauge since it's hard to predict how you might use your points. For example, if you're someone who generally uses your points for Hyatt stays, you might be more inclined to transfer points directly to the travel partner rather than using the Chase Travel Portal. Having the Sapphire Reserve doesn't give you any advantage over the Sapphire Preferred when it comes to transferring points to travel partners. However, if you frequently use your points on the Chase Travel Portal, then you are benefiting from the additional per point value. Just for a review, the Chase Travel Portal redemption rate for the Sapphire Reserve is 1.5 cents and for the Sapphire Preferred is 1.25 cents. For example, if you already have 50,000 Chase Ultimate Reward points in your account that you plan to use, but your product changed from the Sapphire Reserve to the Preferred card, then you're devaluing your points by $125 if you wanted to use them on the travel portal. Again, the difference is more significant if your points total is larger, but this is really dependent on how much you anticipate using the Chase Travel Portal for your travel bookings. I'm not including this figure in the scorecard because I'm already accounting for the redemption value when calculating the total travel and dining spend. However, it is something to keep in mind if you already have a lot of points that you intend to use on the Chase Travel Portal, as you may be devaluing your points if you downgrade your Sapphire Reserve to the Preferred card. If I tally up all the potential savings from these calculations, you can see that I actually come out ahead, even with the annual fee change. I even compared it to the Sapphire Preferred using the same figures but adjusted for the card's annual fee and reduced travel portal earning rate to see how it stacks up with my usage. Based on my value calculation, I'm still better off with the Sapphire Reserve over the Sapphire Preferred based on my spending pattern and lifestyle. Again, this is just my experience. We live in Los Angeles and use both ride sharing and food delivery services, and we travel a fair amount. So the Sapphire Reserve still makes sense for us. Though your situation might be completely different, which is why I encourage you to go through this exercise to gauge how much you think you'll gain or lose from these new benefits and annual fee. I'm hoping this video gives you some structure on how you might determine the value of these benefits. I know that I was surprised since I didn't think I use ride-sharing services that often, but when I looked at my numbers, even a few rides to and from the airport means that I would save more than I expected. But again, you might have other credit cards that take away from your dining and travel spending on the Sapphire Reserve, or even have cards that offer similar benefits. In those cases, your numbers could be dramatically different. In case you want a closer look at the diagrams used in this video, I've posted them on my website. I've been trying to put all my diagrams from my videos in the website posts since I know it's a pain having to find them in the video and freeze the frame if you're trying to use them as a reference. And even better, I've created a Google Sheet that you can use to follow the same methodology and calculate your estimated value. The spreadsheet will give you a lot more precision too, since it allows you to adjust the assumptions in the worksheet. All you have to do is follow the tabs at the bottom of the spreadsheet, and it'll generate your scorecard at the end comparing the value between the Sapphire Reserve and preferred card. I posted a link to the spreadsheet in the video description and on our website. It should be fairly straightforward, but if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. What do you think about the Sapphire Reserve changes? I'm curious whether you feel like the new benefits are worth the increase in annual fee based on your spending patterns. Also, I'm curious whether any of you have had a different reaction once you've crunched the numbers. Please let me know in the comment section below. If you're interested in applying for a new credit card, we would love it if you use our link in the video description or on our website. It's an easy way to support our channel, especially if you found our content to be valuable and helpful. Also, if you need any help with picking the right credit card or developing a card strategy, sign up for our free card consultation service. You'll basically fill out a questionnaire and schedule a 15-minute video or audio call with me to review your recommendation. We hope you enjoyed the video and found it useful. If so, please give us a thumbs up and consider sharing the video with others. It may not seem like much, but it really helps us with growing our channel and community. As always, we appreciate you checking out our channel and video. Until next time, travel safe and travel smart.